Max, what's the item on the agenda that you want to invert and start with?
We're starting with budget.
I think he might want to be here for that, and he should just be coming on any minute. I'm happy to just give my quick little report first, and then maybe he will be here. He's texting me as we speak. Okay. Okay, so I guess we can just invert number 1 and 2. I can give a brief update. I don't have much, but we can just start with that. I just want to remind everyone now that we're back, and welcome back. Oh, don't even need to start. Here's Andrew now.
There he is.
Good work, Doug.
Andrew's here.
I'm here. Hello. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Just had a slight incident, but everything's okay. And here I am.
Well, just in time. We were about to get started, but now we can just start as planned if you want to get into it once you're ready.
Yep, absolutely. Give me one moment, everyone. Hello. Great. So yeah, as far as, did you give an update yet, Max, or?
No? I was just about to start with that.
Oh, then go ahead.
So, oh, no, go ahead. You're here. We can start with you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Well, thank you. This will be my final steering meeting as interim chair. So it's been great working with all of you. Don't have really too much to report at this point. Really have been just trying to communicate with a lot of the folks on the board and provide assistance however we can. Max, Jesse, and Ashley and the team have been doing a great job. And just trying to work and, provide them support. And as I said at the last meeting, the goal was really to just provide a smooth as possible transition to the next election. I want to thank everyone. I know people running for the committee or the chair and co-chair and all the positions have begun submitting their 500-word statements about why they're interested in running, which those will be shared with the board. I don't know if Max, you'll want to add to that. And then really just getting preparations ready for that next meeting. And that's really kind of, where we are. I attended the borough board meeting, just got some regular, updates from some of the other boards, shared a lot of the work, that we've been doing. There's similarly a lot of questions and concerns in a lot of other communities about with the unlicensed cannabis shops. And I know that's something that many of you have continued to bring up. I know Linda and Christian were working to get the state's Office of Cannabis Management to do a presentation to BCI, and folks would be involved. I spoke very highly of the resolution about the school construction authority, which I thought was a kind of wonderful thing that our board passed, and seemed to be some interest from other boards because I imagine they have similar issues in other districts as well. So, it's good to see when CB7 is taking leadership and setting examples for, other boards, and also just hearing what they're doing and sharing best practices. So with that, just wanted to really get directly into the agenda. I will turn the floor over to Max for his district manager update. But of course, if anyone had any brief comments or questions before I turned it over, I am happy to do my best to answer them or direct them to someone who may be able to answer the questions. With no hands or anything, we'll get into it, and then in old business or new business, we can address anything if anything comes up. Max, the floor is yours.
Thanks, and I will keep it very brief. I'll quickly update everyone on something that I received an update on today. CB7 is going to be returning to something that I think we used to do, which is have a graduate intern from the Fund for the City of New York. I submitted 2 proposals, one on non-market rate housing, so we can better explore affordable housing and our needs in the district, and then sort of begin to understand not just the needs throughout the district, but at the community level, the northern part of the district, the southern part, the central part, so we can have a better understanding of what our needs are and then how we can go about that, whether it's in future sessions for the district needs statement or advocating for funding in other places, or when future developers come in, we could potentially, ask for concessions, try to do community benefits agreement, that sort of stuff. The second one of a proposal I submitted to the Fund for the City of New York is pertains to naturally occurring retirement communities, which I think people don't know a lot about, but the unfortunate reality of the Upper West Side is we are starting to age. And there's a lot of resources with NORCs, as they're called, and we're going to have a graduate planning student come and explore that and create some brochures that we can then use in hopefully partnership with Ashley to disseminate more broadly to our community so those resources can be available. The second thing is I just want to remind everyone that we have changed the protocol just a little bit. And so if you're submitting an agenda, please submit it to Jesse and then just CC me as well. Also, importantly, if you're looking to have presenters or anyone for your meetings have a panelist link, or if you're looking for a link, please reach out to Ashley. She's handling and scheduling all the Zooms. The only other update I have is no update on hybrid meetings. We're supposed to be getting an update from the Borough President's office and others any day now. And as soon as that becomes available, I will share it with everyone. And lastly, Andrew, thank you again for everything. I know we have you for just like 2 more weeks, but you've been very, very helpful. And we can now get on with the rest of the agenda.
Matt, a question, Blanche.
Yes.
The intern is from what institution?
They're still assigning them. It looks like we're getting an individual from Columbia, I believe. I've been working with Louisa on that. But we will know, and maybe Friday or early next week, exactly which individual or individuals we're getting. There's a chance we might get 2.
And would they be assigned to a particular committee or committees?
I think that Louisa and I will mostly be working with them on this and working back and forth with their graduate thesis chair. They're also getting credit for this. And because we've partnered with the Fund for the City of New York, the Fund for the City of New York is compensating them a respectable amount as well. So it's not like we're just exploiting them for their free labor, as I had to do when I was in grad school.
Give me, who is Louisa?
Louisa Craddock, one of our housing co-chairs.
Okay.
Yes, Barbara.
Just wondered if you've heard any rumblings about when we go back in person.
Oh, that was the other update I had there, that there is no specific update yet. They should be letting us know any day now how to interpret new guidance. And as soon as I get that, I'll definitely send it out to everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Then I guess, Andrew, if you want to, or technically, I guess, Roberta and Beverly, if you guys want to hop into agenda item 3, we certainly can.
This is an official hearing of Community Board 7 on the capital and expense budget priorities for fiscal year 2024. I'd like everybody, if you take out your copies of the label proposed capital budget priorities fiscal 2024 dated September 13th, 2022, and we're going to work from that. Max, are you able to share the screen?
Yes. Let me just get that. I'm sorry, I was looking at an email at the moment. Did you say we're doing capital or expense first?
Capital.
Okay, just give me a minute and I will share it.
So what we did on this is that each item we put a label on it, and the label is not necessarily going into the district needs. It's just a label. So when we're talking tonight and we say item 5, Argus cameras, people know what we're talking about. So we want to move one item from one number to another. We don't have to talk about 2 or 3 sentences. We just need to talk about the label. And I'll just go through it quickly. So we started with NYCHA. It's been our #1 priority for many years, affordable housing. Playgrounds was number 2 last year. We've kept it at number 2. Broadband, which is to install infrastructure for free, high quality and safe broadband for all NYCHA households. For educational, telehealth, social services, economic and workplace opportunities. 4th is the Bloomingdale Library, both the basement and the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor is a children's room, classrooms and public meeting spaces. And the basement is this large unused space with the availability of 2 bathrooms. 5 is cameras for New York PD. It's specifically requested Argus cameras at 10K each in locations selected by both the 20th and 24th precincts, including Amsterdam Corridor, Broadway Corridor, 72nd Street, Amsterdam Houses, Wise Towers, and Douglas Houses. 6 are street safety improvements, including countdown timers, speed cameras, stop here at red. 7 is a safe haven shelter. 8 is affordable housing and SROs, and Project Find is a partner on that one. 9 is a comfort station in Riverside Park, 2 comfort stations. 10 is Manhattan Valley Affordable Housing. Again, this would be with Project Find. Fire systems for the Performing Arts Library. The ramp at 68th Street in Riverside Park is not ADA accessible and it's in bad repair. Sidewalks in Riverside Park, 95th to 110th. Some have been reconstructed, but most of them have not. Cellular service in Central Park, install working cellular service in remote areas where there is none. 15 is handicap accessible schools. There's capital plan funding. They want 1 additional elementary school and 1 additional middle school to ensure that at least 1/3 of these schools are handicap accessible. Sorry, someone tried to call me. Safety technology for public schools. Study to improve traffic flow at 96th Street. Technology equipment at Riverside Library. Provide funding for technology equipment for both student and adults to enable the library to provide STEM. 20 is Riverside Park entrances ADA accessible. 21 we've removed. It was a project that Gail is very interested in. We spoke with Gail's office and they now think it's up to $50 million in the city that they're going to need private funding. And we have a resolution from several years ago stating that we want this monument rebuilt. So let's open it to.
Now, did you say that you're removing 21?
Right.
Okay,
So we have 20 items.
okay.
Roberta, you do see that accessible is misspelled under the schools, right?
No, I don't. Which number is that?
I don't see numbers, but it's handicap accessible.
It's just been
Oh,
corrected.
It's
I just
it's just
corrected.
been corrected. Great.
And just to clarify, this isn't our formal document. This is just a working one where if you guys need me to, I'm happy to copy and paste so we can rearrange them in any way that we need to.
So I think Courtney wanted to say something. Max, can you see people's hands if they're raised?
I can in a limited.
I'm happy
capacity, I am-
to, I'm happy to call on folks.
Okay,
Sorry, and Roberta, did you just call Courtney up first?
hold on, Courtney.
Yeah,
Andrew
Roberta,
Wilson
I
is
actually think
the
it's in the, so I think it's in the other, I think it's in expenses that we,
No, so we'll. Okay.
yeah. That,
So-
that we have the friendly amendment.
Right. So if
Great.
people are comfortable with this,
Let me go. I have Michelle Parker has her hand up.
I think I heard on the news today, this is in reference to number 3, broadband,
right?
that there's some money dedicated from someplace to install Wi-Fi in the NYCHA housings. Did I hear that right?
Michelle, I heard that too. So I think what I'd like to do is check on it. And if it is true and it's gonna happen in our district, we can just pull it out. But if
Okay.
it isn't, I think we should leave it in.
Hi,
Okay,
can I speak to this for 1 second? Because I think the real question, and having looked into this, is whether that's the program where they get the prorated, where they get the $30. And I believe that's at the federal level coming in. That's different than, for example, what's happened on the Upper East Side. They actually got an additional money to ensure this. So it's a little bit different than what's happened in.
Courtney, no, I think this was the mayor announced.
Correct. So I'm saying if it's the federal money, then it's the same as before. If it's city money, then it's different.
Right, well, we're gonna check that out, but if it's federal money, then we still need this free.
Correct.
I appreciate it.
If everyone's okay with that, I will double check this week, and I will send an email around to everybody letting you know whether it's happening or not. But if it's not happening immediately, I think we should leave it in.
Roberta Blanche, playgrounds. Various
Oh.
playgrounds are.
Let's not just go, well, ask your question. Let's go by.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the hands.
No problem. So Michelle, were you set? So Ken Coughlin, please.
Coughlin.
Oh, sorry, Coughlin. wait a
That's
minute.
okay, Andrew. You don't have many more times to make that mistake.
Well, now I won't.
I had a question on the 96th Street. Can either you or Andrew or Howard give us details on what is meant by improving traffic flow?
Well, it's study the possibility of installing a 96th Street option for southbound traffic on the Henry Hudson Highway.
Oh.
And that has been on the, that was in last year's 2023 fiscal year. And it was also fiscal year 2022. So we just continued it. I just gave it a label. The label is not going to be how this is just a label for tonight's meeting so we can find where we are. But
Yeah, so it's really closing the 95th Street entrance and
well, studying
it, right? Yeah,
Right.
great.
And
Okay,
that's how it will be worded when we put it in the district needs statement.
okay.
For tonight's, the labels that you see were just labels so that we could understand which pieces we were discussing.
Okay, and what happens to the ones that didn't make the top 20?
They get sent to the appropriate agencies.
Okay,
And basically everything that was sent by the committees is on this list.
thank you.
Mark Diller.
Thanks, and thank you for all this work. It looks like it's easy to say yes to this list. I just suggest to you that the study, as opposed to the building of the 96th Street, that sounds to me like it's expense, not capital. I would support it on either, whatever you think. And then my other question is with respect to the, if I heard correctly, the removal of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. There used to be a category called continuing support. Does that not exist anymore?
Does not exist.
No, that's too bad, because that would be a perfect place for that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Shelley.
Yeah, I would just like to make a correction. Take the word shelter after safe haven out. Safe havens, according to the mayor and the mayor's plan, are what they were before. They're not city shelters. They are taking primarily people from the community first who need support, and with the relatively short-term goal of giving them the services they need and moving them on to permanent housing. So for instance, Goddard Riverside has such a safe haven in Queens, and it's worth people looking, and maybe we'll have them explain it. But I took the word shelter out in the district needs, so I think it should be out
Right.
here.
We took it out. We took it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Polly.
Okay, so I just want to speak to the NYCHA issue regarding the internet. I feel that it should be left in that position because, as Courtney said earlier, there are two different programs. The one that the mayor mentioned today basically as a pilot. Only specific locations have been selected. None of them are in our area. There are 13 that were selected earlier this year. One is at their host notes where they are paying $30 a month for the service. So I do feel that that item should remain where it is, because the service right now as it stands is not actually free service. I mean, he did mention that today on the news, but it's not actually free. So I feel that we should wait and see which program will exist. So I feel that that should stay there.
That's what we said. We said we'd keep it unless we heard otherwise.
Thanks, Polly. Beverly, you're up.
Yeah, the label is fine, but the handicapped accessible schools, I think based on Courtney's very thorough research, we no longer need a middle school additionally accessible to meet the overall city target.
That's true. Sorry, I missed that hadn't been tweaked. Yes.
Okay.
The latest one indicated only the elementary school.
Yeah, just the elementary school.
That's out. That's out.
Not the whole thing, just the middle school piece.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody else?
I see Barbara Adler.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions, but first I just really wanted to thank particularly Beverly and Roberta as the head of the budget committee. I know how hard we work in our committee in parks just to get our list, and to have to vet all these various committees and do the job that you do. I think it's just really pretty extraordinary, and thank you. That said, I have a couple of questions. I agree with Mark that number 18 strikes me really as not capital, but expense. And I had the same question about, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. 18, the traffic flow at 96th Street really seems like it should be in expense. And I also wondered about the technology equipment that's necessary. Wouldn't that also be expense, or is that considered capital?
We thought, Beverly and I just thought it was capital, but we don't have hard numbers. And unfortunately, we didn't get hard numbers from the library.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ongoing programming would be.
It's not program. I mean, that my understanding that it's not programming. It's literally some of the equipment to use as part of the programming.
And as we have learned, equipment can be quite pricey.
All right, and my last question had to do with the accessible subway stations, because I mean, we all realize that those are in tremendous need and they should all be upgraded. But I don't remember ever seeing the MTA as an agency on our list before. And is it pie in the sky, Andrew, or can we actually get something from them for our district?
They have a list of proposed like 70 stations that will be made accessible. There's none in our area, so that's why we want to highlight some of the ones that can be made accessible in our area. Not all of them are easy, like Central Park West, because one level is above the other and there's not that much room on the sidewalks. But like 96th on Central Park West, the 97th Street end could sustain an elevator, and obviously 110th could. And there's a few stops on Broadway, so that's why we're putting that in there. Of course, MTA is a state agency, not a city agency. So.
Sorry, yeah.
We don't usually put in state agencies, but transportation asked us to, so.
Also, the MTA does receive city funds through the city budget, so that it is legitimate to put it in as a city need.
And because of the new zoning for accessibility law,
Right.
having that in there so that everybody knows what stations we think should be in the next group, I think helps us.
And we were advised by city planning that the more information specific information we give, the greater the chance. That's why Andrew and I went over which subway stations should be listed on this. Do you have anything else?
Blanche.
Okay, thank you. A question on two playgrounds. Playgrounds are under the jurisdiction of various agencies. Should we be specific about which playgrounds, those under parks, those under DOE or whomever else, or just leave it open?
When we put this into the, city planning website for district needs, we list the agencies that are, what you're getting today is not what's going into the district needs. We're going to write long paragraphs about all of this. And if it's one or more agencies, the information will go to both agencies. But usually the funding for the playgrounds comes from the Parks Department.
Okay, thank you.
Don't see any other hands. Any other comments, questions? Nope.
I make a resolution to approve this list as
Second,
with
Yeah.
the study to improve traffic flow removed, so technology becomes 18 and Riverside Park entrance becomes 19. Can we call the question?
Call the
call the
question.
question.
We can. All in favor?
Oh. Should we come ask the community?
We do. We have one community member. Any community comments? I don't see. No. All right. So thank you, Mark. We'll
Is
Do you
someone,
want steering first?
is someone counting?
You're right, only steering
Oh.
members should vote, right?
okay.
Sorry,
Steering
I'm counting.
So let's
Oh.
put, we'll put all the hands down. Sorry, we'll do steering. And Beverly, are you,
I'm counting actually.
oh, Seema, okay, sorry, Seema. All right, so
Okay, so all steering members who are voting yes.
got it, Seema?
Yeah, I see 18.
Whoa.
What? All right, we'll put the hands down.
Do we know how much it is?
You have it? Are there any hands or all
It was 18?
physical?
Yes.
Okay, Blanche, yes.
Oh,
Blanche, yes?
sorry. Okay. So I think that's 19 hands then.
That's what I have.
Okay.
Any no's? Anyone voting no? Can everyone put their hand down?
Well, so
Put our
Robert,
hands
you
up.
can count, let's just, sorry, Robert, do you want to do the call or would you like me to? Just one of us?
You can do it,
Okay.
but people need to lower their hands.
Yeah,
Everyone lower your hands. I can lower those who
can
can't.
you lower the hands, please? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so steering committee members voting no.
I see no hands.
Okay. Steering committee members that are
Abstain.
abstaining, sorry.
No hands?
And steering committee members not eligible.
0.
All right, can we get a final tally, please?
That's 19 to 0 to 0 to 0. Should we do a non-steering committee vote as well?
Yes. So we lower the hands, please, Max. All right, so this is for non-steering committee members voting yes.
I see 4 hands.
Do we have anyone with their
Oh, sorry,
physical
5
hand
hands.
up?
Actually, Christina, I think you are a member of the committee. Am I wrong?
Christina.
Yes. Sure.
I might be technically a member.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
I missed the boat.
No problem. Oh, okay. Should I up that to 20 then for the?
Make-
Yes,
Yep.
please. Apologies, Seema.
Got it. Okay, non-committee, I see 4 hands.
Okay, and do we have any physical hands up for non-committee? I'm just scrolling through. Okay, put them down. Non-steering committee members voting no.
0.
Okay, non-steering committee members abstaining. 0.
0.
Non-committee members not eligible. 0. Can we please get a full tally, Seema?
Sure. Steering committee is 20 to 0 to 0 to 0. Non-committee is 4 to 0 to 0 to 0.
It passes.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
So now we're going to the,
Thank you, committee.
so
I'm
now-
sorry?
Thank you for the entire committee.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to the proposed expense budget priorities fiscal year 2024. And again, the labels are not necessarily what's going to go into the document. It's just easier for us to use this.
So Roberta, is this here now where I'm?
Yeah, let me just quickly read the numbers because they're not on the thing that's up there. All right, so we have 26 items. Broadband for NYCHA is food insecurity, I'm sorry, is increased funding for food insecurity is 1. Free broadband for NYCHA is number 2. And that would be to provide operating funds. So it's for free broadband service for all NYCHA households and ongoing technical support. 3 is homeless outreach. 4 is to increase funding for the Department of Youth and Community Development. 5 is children's mental health. 6 is a crisis stabilization center. 7 is traffic enforcement for safety, increase enforcement of all vehicles, provide funding for increased staff of the police department. Crime Victims Treatment Center is number 8. 9 is social emotional training. 10 is solar trash compactors and increase litter collection to 7 days per week. Reduce the rat population to address the crisis of rapidly increasing rat population. We're asking for additional litter baskets, service in high foot traffic areas, etc. 12 is restore funding for permanent seasonal staffing, that's park staff. We want a nurse and social worker in every school. New York Police Department needs overtime. PEP officers is to hire additional parks enforcement patrol. 16 is the school crossing guards at every school, at every major intersection of each school. 17 is professional development for teachers. 18 is to increase funding for community board budget. 19 is provide funds for the study of the 72nd Street bike lane. 20 is signage in playgrounds to provide clear signage outside playgrounds to protect children about what the rules are. 21 is library staffing. 22 is pre-K staffing and training for the staff to make timely referrals for children with special educational needs, because presently that staff does not exist. 23 is special education teachers at community-based organizations. They have a parity with those employed directly by New York City Department of Education, so that the quality is similar. 24 is language access programs for children. And 25 is special needs support to secure funding to support the programs and specialists needed to provide services for children. And 26 is the 96th Street traffic study.
So Roberta, two things that are logistical first. One is the number 16, the school crossing guards, that's how it's tagged, but actually it includes the component for the school safety support staff. So I know it's not the real tags that we're going to use, but I think it needs to be broader because that school safety staff is a really critical piece, not just the crossing guards.
Yeah, I do have funding for increased schools.
No, I know it's in there, but just, I don't want that to get lost. And then in any discussion. And then I believe that 23 was the one we actually talked about removing because as I think Mark pointed out, I think we actually got that. And so it could come out.
23 comes out?
Is the parity, yeah, the parity one, the pay parity.
So you want that removed?
Yeah, Mark, I believe you noted on our call that could come out because that actually happened.
It certainly came out. It's been granted for fiscal 23 for sure.
Yeah.
So we're taking it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'd like to propose a friendly amendment. We have several things that are down living at the bottom right now that as a committee, all having to do with special education and needs for those types of students.
Before you speak, I just want to clarify. So what happened is they met last Thursday and Beverly and I have been going over this list for at least a month. And for a matter to just pull it together, because we wanted to send it out to everybody on Friday, we added several things at the end of the list with the understanding that the YL could come with a friendly amendment.
Yeah, so we're really awful and came in at the last second with our list with these updates. And so thank you. So this is a friendly amendment. One of the things that we really saw as critical, especially coming out of the pandemic, obviously kids were hit really hard during the past 2 years, but especially this group of kids, the kids with the special needs and special education. And so these are some of these elements that are currently at the bottom that we would like to propose get moved up much higher, because we think it's a really critical need to address in our district. And so these are things at the bottom. They include 22, the pre-K staff, that's so they can make the timely referrals that we are struggling with. The language and the special needs student support, which is 25. I also want to flag 24, which is the language access programs. One of the things that was pointed out in our meeting on Thursday is that we have a fair number of the asylum seeker kids and students who were put into a shelter in our district. They're currently up at PS 145. And so in as much as this item was in our budget priorities actually last year, it has become even more critical to address and likely will remain so in the next couple of years.
So I'm sorry, which two items are these? 20.
So 21 and 25 are the
22 and 25.
Sorry, 22, yes, 22, which is about the timely referrals, which is an ongoing problem. And then
25.
Right, and 25 are the services both in school and after school programming.
So would you want to put them before nurses and social workers? Where would you like me to?
Yeah,
put
I
them?
think they need to go higher.
Okay, so we have social emotional training.
Yep, higher.
So below the crisis stabilization center.
That's fine. I think so. Blanche, what do you think?
I'd agree with that. When we say social emotional training, my question is for whom?
So we talked about that. That's both the teachers and the broader staff, basically anyone who comes into contact with kids. And frankly, I think it's something that's on the reason I think it needs to go ahead of that, my argument would be, it's something that's on the radar. It's been kind of reflected in the mayor's executive budget. Not that it's not important, not that it's not important for us to be advocating for, but I think this is really an opportunity for us to highlight the needs that exist within this for these families and these students. And therefore I would support putting it higher than that. Not that they're not all important, because this list is, painful to prioritize.
Okay.
Okay,
I think we're happy to accept that it's friendly. So it would be number 6, Crisis Stabilization Center, number 7, pre-K staff, number 8, special needs, then traffic enforcement becomes 8, and everything else moves down.
Excuse me, can I suggest that we
Yep.
put traffic enforcement safety, leave it where it is and then slot those items? And I agree, Courtney, these are all really critical items, but I think that traffic enforcement for safety is just such a broad thing across the entire district that it would be, we'd be remiss if we moved it down.
It's actually getting more officers, and we've had
Let's
it
see,
up. We've had it up
Courtney, okay. Courtney, did you have any other comments, or then we'll move on to Susan, who had her hand up next?
I'm sorry. I'm happy to. I'm happy to wait. No, I.
Okay. Great, thank you. And Roberta, do you have any more response to that, or should I go on to Susan?
Just to give you background on the traffic enforcement, we've had it on our budget expense priorities for the last 3 or 4 years. It's just a matter of whether the police department is willing to provide more traffic safety officers, because without them, the police are too busy doing their own work to enforce traffic safety, and in fact have not. So what we added to this year is to get traffic safety money for traffic safety officers.
Thanks, Roberta. All right, Susan, you're up.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Roberta. I understand what you're saying, but I think it sends especially the wrong message if it's been there for several years to move it down. It indicates that it's less of a priority. And again, Courtney, I agree with the importance of the items you've highlighted, and I agree with moving them up. But I would just suggest in a friendly way that maybe we just slot them in right after traffic enforcement for safety.
How about one before and one after?
There's lots of stuff below it that I think is still important. I'm happy to move them all up. I think it should start after traffic enforcement for safety. I think the traffic enforcement applies to the entire district, and the educational kinds of things, are limited, their scope.
I mean, I defer to Blanche. Blanche, I'm happy to have Blanche weigh in here. I think it's a 1-2 punch on so if they're kind of right in a row and they're in the top 10, to me that still sends, sorry, this is the special education, it still sends a message. I don't think it really matters whether they're 7 or 8 or 9. If they're in the top 10 and there's 2 of them, it's fine.
So, Roberta, you want to accept that, Roberta?
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
The other question was
Thanks.
about who the social emotional training was for.
Yeah, that we left that kind of broad. The idea here being that it was for everyone who interacts with kids, that it's not just the teachers, that there's lots of staff in the building. This one was still there. This one actually was in from last year too. The idea being that this is a continuing need in our schools.
Okay, that's fine, thanks. And the final comment was that the 72nd Street bike lane, that was really controversial. It was discussed at the full board, and I would suggest that we move that to the very bottom of the list, because we've had lots and lots and lots of bike lane improvement and bike lane stuff, and the city is now barreling toward an $8 billion deficit for 2023, I think. And I think that there's a lot of other stuff on this list that's much more important, but that's just one person's view.
We put it above study 96th Street.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
Michelle Parker.
Thank you. With reference to number 1, just an FYI, I spoke to Kay. He can't be here because he's not feeling well, but he said West Side Campaign Against Hunger serves over 77,000 meals a week. I see you have question marks in paragraph 1. So that's Those are some hard
Well,
numbers.
I already spoke with him and I got the number, but,
Okay.
but it's over 300,000 meals a month. And I got the number on Thursday. I just hadn't had time to.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to get this list to all of you as quickly as possible, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize, Roberta. You all did a stellar job. It's okay.
But it will get in.
And number 18, funding for our for CBs or for CB7. Did we always have that? I know we always had that in the top, our top priorities, but was it always that low on the list?
Yeah, it was often last.
Okay. I don't remember, but okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Richard.
You know, most of the items on this, it's a terrific list, and the committee's done a great job. Most of the items on this list are ongoing items that we've been asking for years. But I think we'd be better served if we elevate all of the items that relate to a crisis. And the biggest crisis, I think, facing the city right now is how far children, particularly special needs children, are behind in their education. And I would lump every one of the items that deals with education, get high, maybe even number 3 through 8 or whatever it is. I think we need to emphasize the education and to do it en masse, a group of education proposals. Everything else we've been asking for a long time, but this is something children can't get back. They can't make up for lost time. And I think it's crucial that it be addressed right now.
Roberta?
We can make it one of our top. So our top 3 priorities have been affordable housing, food insecurity, and we certainly could make educational priorities our top 3 priorities, and then do the whole district needs around that.
Courtney, does that make sense to you?
I mean, it does. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with you. I agree. I think what I'm asking, as long as we as a group feel that whatever order we put things in indicates that this is a critical need and has an impact, then I defer to those who've been doing this longer than I just want to make sure that's highlighted. So whether that's at 3 or 4 or 7 and 8, you guys have been doing this longer than I am. I agree with you. It is a critical and time sensitive need.
And I think that's a good, Richard, I think, Richard and Courtney, it's a really good idea. What I'd like to do is talk to both of you about language for putting into our district needs the vulnerability of children and how crucial this is right now. So if it's okay with you both, I will be reaching out to each of you in the next few days.
So, Roberta, are you accepting that?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, if I can explain a little bit, if Beverly, join me if you can. So what happens is this list is our working list, but there's a document that city planning gives us, and we have to fill in blanks, and the blanks there's no place in the document that we have our top 10, our top 3, our top 20. The only top 3 we have are the top 3 areas of concern for our district. So if education of our youth is one of our top 3, then that gets priority. What happens after we submit our document, OMB or city planning, I'm not sure who, takes the document and sends the items to the appropriate agency. So for example, the Department of Education will get all the items in our list. They do not really know what order they're in, and they will answer us based on whatever their particular goals are for that period. So PEP officers will go to the Parks Department, school crossing guards will go to the DOE, professional development for teachers will go to DOE. And then it's up to us to follow up with the agencies and the electeds.
Thanks, Roberta. So let's, we have Ken and Ethel, then Shelley. Ken, you're up.
Okay, just on the 72nd Street, street safety enforcement was also controversial last year. Somebody's got their audio on, I think. Okay, if we want street safety, complete streets are the key for safer streets. And the great thing about them is they're self-enforcing. You don't need more additional police officers. They actually, once you install them, pedestrian and cyclist and motorist deaths and injuries go down automatically. So I would strenuously argue keeping it where it is or even moving it up. And also, Richard, what is a crisis? It really is in the eye of the beholder. 9 people were killed on our streets last year. Hundreds are injured. Homelessness is a crisis for many, many people. And lack of access to broadband in NYCHA is a crisis if you don't have it. Potentially everything on this list is a crisis, depending on who you are. Roberta, I just have a question. Was this list sent to just the steering committee members on Friday or to the whole board?
Oh, I can answer that one, actually. Sorry, I don't mean to. I'll just jump in. I sent it to all steering committees and everyone on the executive committee, and obviously Roberta and Beverly. It would be my fault, and I'm sorry for it if I should have sent it to the full board.
I think it would be a good idea in the future, because I never got a look at it.
Sure, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Ethel.
Hi, thank you. First, again, I want to echo others always at the terrific work done by this committee. I think that while Ken is perhaps correct and sympathetic that everything is a crisis, we should also try to be somewhat practical. And in the expense budget, we really should list those particular items that also we think can have a chance of actually being funded, as well as being a major priority for this district. I echo Richard. We didn't even talk. We haven't even discussed it, but I compliment and I strongly support what the co-chairs of education, Claudia and others, they were so good, because this is what I would suggest. I would take every one of the items that were listed, that for the children, for the schools, for the mental health of children, as a consequence of what has happened in relation to the pandemic. It is well acknowledged, widely acknowledged, that children have lost out in many, many different areas as a consequence of what has occurred. I think that there were several items mentioned that were very specific. I think you could lower children's mental health and take the 3 or 4 or 5 that were very much listed at the beginning and which were terrific. I would also lower anything that has to do with the NYPD overtime. That's usually just a SOP, and they have a lot of money, or there's other ways to get that. But I would try to make the top 6 or 10 as specific as possible. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a thought.
Yep, go ahead, Roberta.
We could make one item for the mental health of the children and have bullet points of all the items we want.
That sounds good. If you can take some of those that were listed.
Courtney and Blanche, how do you feel about this?
I mean, as long as it doesn't mute the importance of it. I mean, I struggle a little bit with the optics versus the logistics piece of this. So if that's a solution that keeps it, that indicates its importance and streamlines the list, then I think it's fine. Does it complicate when you enter these things in to the system? I don't know.
Well, if we do it right, I don't think it will.
Can I suggest that you call it not just mental health, but mental health and educational needs?
Yes,
as
yes. Just do that. That's very good and specific and worthwhile.
Thank you. Thanks, Ethel.
Can you add in the
Shelley.
words well-being as well? I'm sorry to jump
Excuse
in. Can you add in the words well-being as well?
Okay.
Well, we'll figure it out. I think budget committee.
Got that? Okay. Shelley, you're up.
I think people make generalizations saying that we've had this before, so we're just continuing it. It's not the case. For instance, with food insecurity, HHS had a whole meeting on it, and we learned that although West Side Campaign Against Hunger was feeding the whole city, they were ignoring during the pandemic largely our local population, not because they wanted to. They didn't have the staff. They were being funded for the broader picture. So the funding that's being requested is specifically to build up the food distribution among the needy in our community. Likewise with other topics. I'm totally in agreement with bunching the education, mental health for children and wellness, because all children have been affected, especially not only anecdotally, but research shows that special education, special needs students suffered the most. I think it's our obligation to highlight it, and I commend the committee for doing that.
Thanks, Shelley. Beverly.
I think that logically, this bundling of the education and the children's mental health makes sense. My concern is that it goes to different agencies. And the material that's been submitted by YEL is specifically focused on education funding from the DOE, not on the health funding that item number 5 is focused on. So I'm just concerned that because we know how these are interpreted and utilized by agencies once we send them off, that that will be a little complicated, and it may in fact not end up where we want it to go. So I would just think maybe if you had the one that is essentially a social service item as separate, and then you could bundle the education ones, you might get around that.
Well, I was thinking, Beverly, I misspoke. I was thinking of just bundling the education ones because the education ones do help the children's mental health. And so I didn't mean to remove the children's mental health number 5. I meant to take the lower ones that dealt with DOE funding.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, Mark, I saw you had your hand up, but now it's down.
Looks like you solved the problem, so you don't need to hear from me.
Excellent.
So this is what I'd like to do. I would like to keep the order that we've all agreed to, except to move number 7 is traffic enforcement and safety. Number 8 is going to be the DOE requests. And I'll figure out how that goes, and then everything else will move down. And then number 23 got eliminated. 25 is a traffic study, and I'll move the study 72nd Street down next to it. So those will be the last two. Beverly, Budget Committee, are you guys okay with this? And then if we're all okay with it, then this will be our proposed resolution for now.
There was one proposal that came, I forget from whom, that the PD overtime not be as high, because then it would.
We can move that down. Where is that? That's numbers. I'm moving to the end.
I suggested that. I would think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, thank you, Ethel.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
I've moved that. So that is now the last three things are NYPD overtime, study 72nd Street and study 96th Street. Everything else basically remains the same, except the educational ones become part of number 8. I will try and get this together. If we approve it tonight, I will try and have it in a working order to send everybody by Thursday.
Great, thanks. Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So you're proposing moving the NYPD overtime from 14 to item number what?
I'm not sure what the number is, but it's the third from the last.
I'm concerned about the optics of that too, considering that we have some major public safety issues which affect all people, young, old, and middle-aged. So
I have not heard back from the police about I sent an email to the to Inspector Noguchi and to Captain to see if they still wanted it in. I have not heard back. So unless they contact me that this is something they want, I think we can safely move it.
Okay, well, I appreciate your response. I would hope that they would respond. I would think it would be very important whether they say yes or no, but I appreciate it.
I mean, if they say yes, can't we be talking about the order at full board?
Yes, of course. Right. This is not written in concrete until the full board.
Thanks. All right, thank you, everyone. I see no other hands from steering or
No. Hi, question, Blanche.
Yes, Blanche.
I'd like to go to item 18, which I think was raised by Michelle earlier. I have a recollection, vague as it might be, that in the past, or certainly last year, we took out funding for the community board from the list of, as it were, competitive items. Funding for sustaining and maintaining the operation through the CB board, as it were, should not be in competition with items for the community. That was my understanding last year, and I would raise a question again this year and to ask if anyone has a similar recollection.
Last year it was near the bottom, but not at the bottom, and part of
it was taken out of the running completely.
No, last year I think it was still in the running, but one of the things we need because of the hybrid is we're going to need better technology. So I'm willing to move it to the bottom of the list if that's what everybody wants.
To the bottom of the list?
Yeah. It was on the list the last few years.
All right. Any other, all right, so we'll go if there's any members of the public with any comments or questions. I see no members. Great. All right, want to call the question? All right, all steering members. Oh, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks. All right, so that's all steering members right now. Is it just members of steering voting yes?
I see 16 hands right now.
Okay, do we have any physical hands up? Okay. Max, can we put them down? Okay. All steering members voting no. I don't see any. Any physical hands? Okay, steering members abstaining.
I see one.
I see one. And I don't see any physical and not eligible. 0. All right, Seema, can we please get a tally of steering?
Sure, 16 to 0 to 1 to 0.
Thank you. So now for non-steering members. Non-steering members voting yes.
I see 2.
Right. Non-steering members. Oh, sorry. Can we put those down, Max? Non-steering members. Oh, sorry. I thought non-steering mem. Sorry, Ethel. Are you? Ethel, I see your hand going up and down. Is that? Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I voted for it.
You did. Okay. So we'll
Yes,
put your.
sorry
You'll
about
lower
that.
your hand.
I'll lower your
Yes,
hand.
please. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, so that was non-steering members voting no. Okay, don't see any. Non-steering members abstaining.
I see 2.
Okay, I don't see any physical and non-steering members not eligible. Okay. Seema, can we please get a tally?
Sure. Non-committee is 2 to 0 to 2 to 0. Motion passes.
Thank you. And thank Roberta and Beverly and the whole committee. I echo everyone else's comments. Thank you so much for your work on this. We know
Andrew?
how-
Andrew?
Yes.
Could I take a moment and ask Roberta, is it still the case that in the narrative part, we identify top 3 priorities?
Yes, we do.
Do you have a proposal for that, or should we wait for full board for that?
Our proposal, I believe, is food insecurity, affordable housing, and education.
I would move that we adopt those priorities for that part of the, as a resolution to, so that we have the imprimatur or whatever the word is. So I move that we adopt those priorities.
Second.
All right.
Could you just repeat them again, please, the 3?
Food insecurity, affordable housing, and public education.
On the question.
Second. All
I need
right.
a second for a call to question.
Oh, sorry.
I seconded.
You did. Okay, so all steering voting in members voting in favor. I don't see any physical hands. Let me know when you get that, Seema.
I see 18.
Yep.
Blanche, yes.
Oh, Blanche, so 19.
19.
Great, Max, we please put down the hands? Thank you. So all steering members voting no. All right, and don't see any physical hands. 0. Steering members abstaining. All right, don't see any. Steering members not eligible. All right, can we get a tally, please?
19 to 0 to 0 to 0.
Passes. So now we are going to go to non-steering. Non-steering members voting in favor.
see 3.
As do I.
Oh, Ethel, sorry, 4.
Thanks.
All right, I don't see any physical hands. Okay, let's put those hands down, please. Okay, non-steering members voting no. Don't see any. Non-steering members abstaining. Don't see any. And non-steering not eligible. All right, Seema, tally whenever you're ready.
4 to 0 to 0 to 0.
Excellent. Passes. Great. Well, thank you again for everyone's work on this.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. So now we will move on to chair reports. So we are going to start with the list in order. First, we have DCI. You are up.
Well, go ahead, Linda.
Now, we had 7 applications. 6, I'm sorry, we had 6 applications, but it felt like 7. We were stirred up by OCM, but we did get to a presentation from a lovely guy from the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce on the New York City Small Business Resource Network. We asked him about cannabis since he works with retail and hospitality, and as we know, cannabis is hospitality and retail. Anyway, he knew nothing about it, so he wasn't very helpful. Do we have more details, Christian?
No, other than to say that everybody agrees that it's an enforcement issue that we need the city to keep moving on.
So we're still trying to get BCA. I was still trying to get OCM to meet with us. So I guess we've got a reputation for being a little badass. But we had a lot of what was really exceptional is that we had so many non-committee members joining us that night. So it was a really great committee and meeting. So that's about it.
Well, as a matter of fact, we had quite a bit of participation on the application for the Metro Cinema. A lot of people really want that.
That's true. The Metro Cinema is going to be back from the folks who brought you whatever it's called, Dallas.
Alamo Draft.
Alamo. I knew it was some place in Texas. Alamo Draft. Anyway, but it's going to be a more elevated experience, better food, smaller, and they were so great. All of the neighbors were positive, but they had questions about soundproofing. Everything was answered. Emails, phone numbers shared. So it was a really great community experience.
Great.
Did I miss anything?
No, that's good.
Right.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Nope. All right, we're going to move on to HHS, Health and Human Services.
Thank you. We had a meeting jointly with Housing on the 12th. We were fortunate to have first the deputy staff chief for the city-wide new housing chief, Jessica Katz, as the presenter, and we had from DHS, Department of Homeless Services, Deputy Commissioner Iris Rodriguez, and we had from the first Deputy Commissioner from HPD, Ahmed Tigani. It's rare that we get people on that level, especially from DHS. And in addition to explaining the mayor's plan and answering our questions, they express an interest in working with our committees, housing and HHS and the board in the future. So that was a good long-term outcome. And moving forward, we're going to have October meeting has a couple of important things. There's a proposed shelter that may or may not come to fruition on 106th Street. And there are other pressing issues dealing with noise and other things that are going to be on the agenda, so stay tuned.
Great. Any questions, comments? Don't see any hands. All right, we'll move on to housing.
Hi, this is the opposite side of what Shelley said. We were very glad to get the people to talk about the mayor's plan on housing and homelessness. My personal opinion is that they spoke in very broad strokes. There were very few details. They did say they wanted to work with us, and I think we had to hold them to it. And I would think that 6 months, we plan to have them again and ask them, what have they done and how can we help them? Frankly, I thought that it was all a bit bland and a bit, we look forward to the community helping us, etc. I would have hoped that there was more specific things that we could have done and worked together on. I'm looking forward very much to working with the new fellows that we're going to have and to planning out what we want them to cover, because affordable housing is very, very big. Apparently, Max, we're going to have 2 fellows. That's even better. And how they can work together and what specifically they're going to cover. And I would like to bring the whole committee in on working on this.
Great. Thanks, Louisa. Yeah, that's very exciting with the with the fellows. Doug, I see your hand.
Well, while I'm not on either of those committees, I did attend that meeting and I was very impressed with the caliber of people that were there. I just wanted to echo Louisa's comment that I felt that they rushed through it. It was a very comprehensive plan. It was very polished, very professional. But my impression, and this is just one person, was that they checked the box by saying, you got it. We gave you our plan. We presented at the community board. Now move on. That's how I felt. I don't want to, be negative about it. And I do hope they come back, because we just said, and we just voted that housing, is one of our top 3 priorities, and it's super important. So I just felt it was a bit of a rush job, even though they were very comprehensive.
Yes, and maybe we can use the information that we will start to get from the fellows to ask them more specific questions about the district and what they're going to be doing in it.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Louisa. All right, with that, I don't see any other hands. Land use, you are up.
We are in a doldrum in terms of land development on the Upper West Side. That may change at any minute. For example, we hear that there's going to be an application to upzone a block between 109th and 110th on Broadway for various reasons, one of which would include more affordable housing, but we haven't received any notification of it officially as yet. We were going to have a presentation or webinar on land use and zoning at our meeting tomorrow, but we couldn't get anyone from the City Planning Commission to attend. So right now, unless we get somebody, it's my plan to conduct the webinar myself with the help of anyone else who wants to join at our November meeting. Ben, anything else?
It reflects what we discussed. We try to find someone to speak, but presumably this is a calm before the storm, and it'll just get very busy at some point soon.
Great, thank you. Any comments, questions? Roberta.
What about one of the land use people from Borough President Levine's office, if you can't get anyone from city planning?
I'd reached out to them as well, and they're not able to come.
But maybe they could come in November.
Yeah, oh yeah, and DCP said they'd be happy to come in quote late fall as well. Just this month it wasn't going to work out.
So we'll do something in November. If we can get one or more city representatives, we will. If not, we'll do it in-house.
Great. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to Parks and Environment.
Hi, we had our meeting last night. Our next meeting is on the 17th of October. To full board, we will be coming with one resolution, and that will be for the redesign of the Anibal Aviles playground, which is on 108th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam. A lot of really exciting new features, very badly needed. New lighting, passive use area, performance space. The Parks Department actually did a lot of outreach earlier this summer, and the meeting they had last night was, it incorporated a lot of the feedback that they got from the community. And overall, the reaction was very positive, and the resolution passed unanimously in committee. And next month, we are expecting Merritt Birnbaum, who is the new CEO of Riverside Park Conservancy, to come and just answer a few questions, introduce herself, and get to know more about us, and us get to know more about her and her philosophy. So I encourage everybody to attend just to meet her. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. Any comments, questions? Nope. All right, don't see any. Then we are moving on to preservation.
Hello, thank you. We had two resolutions this month. One was to replace a cement stairway at the Apthorpe building on the West 79th Street side, with a granite staircase, or stairs actually, that will be exactly the same as the granite steps next to the now cement steps. So that was a charming resolution. And the other resolution involves a pair of buildings on West 74th, squeezed between the Fairway building and what I learned was a convent. This, if you passed it, has probably had scaffolding on, I forget how many years you told us, Doug.
15.
15 years, okay. And what the architects and developers want to do is essentially, they want to remove the facade of both of these buildings, shore up what needs to be shored up, replace what they say are very few worn out elements, and then put the facades back on the buildings. So for us, the question was whether they needed to remove the entire facade or whether they should restore and refurbish. This could be a complicated issue. It is. I find many land preservation items are complicated, but our resolution was to leave it up to Landmarks Preservation Commission to decide whether the whole of the facades need to be removed or the facades need to be stay in place and fix those points that need to be fixed. So that would be our resolution to full board. We take no position as to whether or not the wholesale removal of the facades is required. One last item. Mark was at LPC today. I was at LPC. As far as we know, and I'm sure we'll know, there's no update on the West Park Church application. And that's my report.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions, comments? Oh, Christian.
Yes, in that application, Michelle, instead of us saying that we take no position, wouldn't it be the same to say that we do not oppose the application?
No, in this case, we don't know. the applicant insists that they need to remove the facade and mark every single brick and lentil by a number because of the damage done to the building. And it's pretty extensive. We saw some pretty ugly pictures. But there are a few times that we don't take a position because LPC maybe knows something we don't. If you want to, yeah, Mark, that was kind of Paige's idea too, wasn't it? To not take a position on this?
Well, so the part that balances this out is that the applicant had an engineer that said, you got to do this.
Yeah.
You got to take the whole thing off. And apparently LPC saw this once before and their engineer said, no, you don't. So our committee is not taking a position only on the issue of whether or not the facade needs to come down or be repaired in place. But the resolution also says, whichever way you go, here's how you do it. And what we insist upon is that the result, the facade that's left after all this work is done, needs to have certain elements in place. It needs to use certain materials. It needs to look like, basically it needs to look like the 1940s tax photo.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. They want to go back to the way it looked in 1940, according to a tax photo that they showed us.
So if they want to give us a budget so we can hire our own engineer, I'm glad to break the tie. But otherwise, I think we've done the right thing.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? Any hands? Great. Thank you. Next up, we have transportation.
Okay. We had a joint meeting with the Public Safety Task Force with Polly and William, and they brought to us the issue of people not feeling safe at the 72nd and 96th Street Broadway 1, 2, 3 line stations. We had quite a far-reaching discussion about platform doors because 72nd is part of the historic original line and its platforms are narrow and stairways very narrow. There wouldn't be room for ADA clearance if platform doors were there. So both 72nd and 96th, which is a wider platform, have many members of the public transferring between locals and expresses, and sometimes they get crowded and people are not feeling safe, like they might fall or be pushed. So we've formed a resolution, which I'm not going to read now, obviously, but it's fairly long, and it asks the MTA to take immediate steps to make those stations safer, either by installing low railings. Another issue with platform doors is we have multiple car types on our lines, unlike other places. So, you know, some have 3 doors and some have 4 doors, and they wouldn't line up with the regular platform door makeup. So we're asking the MTA to take immediate steps to either explore the feasibility of putting in small railings or poles that people can hang on to, something at those 2 stations. And that passed the joint committee overwhelmingly. We then have 2 revocable consent. One is for security bollards around the Heschel School on Lower West End Avenue, and the other is for a planter and step arrangement at 68 West 83rd. And then our 4th and final resolution was brought to us by neighbors of Manhattan Valley to secondarily name the northeast corner of 108th and Amsterdam Rafael Delgado Monkey Way, because that gentleman was known as Monkey and everybody knew him as that. And we got the requisite number of signatures from the blocks. So those are our 4 resolutions for the full board.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Any comments, questions?
Well, I concur with everything that Andrew said. It was a great meeting. We learned a lot. William had even a little pictorial presentation on various guardrails. So, you know, it's something that we hope that the transit will look into and, you know, make it happen as soon as possible so that this way, you know, we can all feel safe at those stations. And I thank you, Andrew, for hosting us.
Quite welcome.
Great. All righty. With that, thank you. We will move on to youth education and libraries.
I'll let Blanche talk about what we're doing next month. There's not much more to report than in terms of the past month. We mostly just talked about DNS and budget priorities, as you saw, are late adds to the list. We did take some thoughts about what to do with the future, and I think Blanche, do you have anything else you want to add for upcoming, or should we?
Blanche,
I don't know if Blanche can hear us. I will say one of the things we've talked about is talking more about kind of youth needs next month. So that is how we're thinking about it for next month.
Courtney, it's a little bit difficult. There's we didn't hear you. There was some background noise. Is Blanche, you still there?
Hey, Blanche.
Blanche. No.
Blanche did mention earlier that her part of her computer was low on battery. I think maybe it was her mouse. She might be having some
Blanche is on camera now. I think she's with us now. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see her listed.
Yes, I see her. Wait.
Blanche, you're muted. You're up. You're still muted.
Blanche, I just sent you a prompt to unmute.
Still muted. You know what? Maybe what we'll do is we'll move on, and we can always come back unless are we able to unmute?
I think I'm on mute.
Oh, there you are. I hear you.
Okay. We had our meeting on Thursday. And for our October plan, we are hoping to have in the director of BYCD. We have a good bit of budgetary dollars and cents figures in our budget. But what we would like to hear more of, I think, and Courtney, you can tell me how you feel about that, is how the programs actually work, how it is on the ground for the, we know how many SYEP slots there were. I'd like to hear more about where there were and what kind of positions. We know that there is immigrant services that has been funded for years. Who are the immigrants and what sort of services, particularly now with the Ukrainian influx? There is some in our district. Are we responding to that, and so on? So we're hoping to have that in for our October meeting. Hi there, little one. I think that's it. Everyone is invited. It's to tune in. It's on Thursday, October 20. And we'd like to hear your questions if you choose to join us. But that's about it.
Thank you, Blanche. Any questions, comments? I don't see any. All right, Roberta, in the list I have strategy and budget. Did you have anything else, or?
Well, we will be making a presentation at the full board. The district needs statement is due the end of October. We will be labor intense between now and the end of October writing stuff. I will be contacting many of you for additional data and information. For next year, because we're no longer meeting in July, the schedule is going to be much tighter. And I understand that so Parks and Environment gets an A+, Transportation gets an A+. And I understand with YL, it's a problem that they didn't get the letter from the library until about a week ago. And but whatever we can do to make the process work better is going to be a really big help. Because whoever does it just even getting 2 lists with 20 to 25 things on it, I cannot begin to tell you how labor intensive it was. Beverly did a yeoman's job. I mean, many of you know I was on the phone with you. Beverly was on the phone with you trying to, get information. We really want the data. And what we want for next year is, for example, if you're looking at a playground and there's friends of the playground or there's a school nearby, if you can get a letter from the PTA or a letter from the friends, like the playground last night has friends of, and so they can write a letter. We can attach letters. We can attach photos. We can make it a little more interesting, a little more exciting. So I'm going to be asking all of you going forward to really, help with this.
Thank you, Roberta. Any questions, comments? Nope. All right. Oh, Susan.
Sorry about that. I just want to echo what everyone else has said. Roberta, Beverly, the rest of the committee, you guys have done yeoman's work, and it's often behind the scenes. It's a bit like a duck who's swimming quietly on the surface, but underneath you're paddling very furiously. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
Can I give a quick report about the senior task force?
Yes, you're up.
So the senior task force is continuing to move. They wanted to meet over the summer, so we had our meetings over the summer. We had 3 fantastic forums on how to get into affordable housing, how to stay in affordable housing, and how to thrive in affordable housing. We're hoping to do a program with the DA's office about how to avoid scams. Senior scams are really up, and Aaron Rooney from Goddard Riverside is willing to work with us on some of the NORC stuff, because the problem with NORCs is the city funds some of them, the states fund some of them, and some are privately funded through a variety of agencies and organizations. So I think it's great that we're going to have if we get a fellow to work on the NORCs and to really see where they're at. And Max, also the New York Academy of Medicine, has done a lot of work on NORCs.
Great. Thanks. I don't see any comments, questions. All right. And I have on the list in-person remote. I don't see Elizabeth here. Not sure if there's any updates there. So we will go to public safety.
Yeah, okay. So with public safety, next month, we're having a joint meeting with Health and Human Services. And we will have a presentation done by district managers from other community boards. I believe they reached out to Max in regard to public restrooms. And so they asked if they could present to our public safety task force. So we decided to have a joint meeting with Health and Human Services. And Shelley, of course, agreed, because we felt it's very important to have access to restrooms throughout the city. So we're looking forward to hearing what the status is and what they're doing as far as the other community boards, to see if we can install public restrooms for everyone. So you are all invited, and we look forward to a very robust presentation discussion.
Oh, it froze up a little for me. Were you, was that?
Yeah, that was it. I don't know if you heard me because it kind of stalled and paused for a minute, but basically I said I'm looking forward to a robust presentation discussion from the district managers of the other community boards. Max, I don't know specifically which boards are coming. Maybe you could, give us a little information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is Marissa Mack is coming, and I'm not sure who else. She may just be representing the collective of them, but I'll have more information as we go along to share.
Okay.
That up on you shortly.
Okay.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, Polly. I see Linda has her hand up.
Yeah, this is for Polly. Polly, when it comes to public safety, we're seeing a proliferation of primarily delivery e-bikes on sidewalks. Is there any way that that could go on your agenda for the next meeting? Because it's, I've got photographs and I'd be happy to share them. It's really scary. I'm almost got, my dog was almost hit yesterday. So it's on a sidewalk. So,
well, I'm glad you brought that up, Linda, because I also read about someone, unfortunately, you know, who was run down.
Yes.
In that area. I think it was on the West Side Rag, and I was just reading it, and it was horrible what happened to her. And basically, the person just walked away without a ticket, without any, you know, appearance in court. And I really surprised about that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that William and I definitely said we need to address, because it's important.
It's critically important, and it seems to be proliferating. I mean, I understand people have to make a living, but they're riding on the sidewalks. They're not just ignoring traffic lights. People are, you know.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Riding on the sidewalks.
Yeah, she's a matter of fact, she's a professional celloist, and she can no longer play her instrument. And I was like, and make a living. And I just was shocked that there were no, no.
They caught him. They caught him because.
No, they did.
People, but it didn't matter. They let him go because it was civil. So, but this is what I'm saying is in our neighborhood with so many sidewalk sheds and so many sidewalk obstructions, we're now seeing a whole new kind of a brazen, I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something that can be done.
Yeah. So let's talk, you and I, okay? And definitely put that on the agenda, okay?
Thank you.
Shelley.
A difficult topic, but somewhat resolved. On Saturday night, it was the beginning of the High Holy Day season, with some synagogues having 1 o'clock in the morning services. I, coming back from one, fortunately came directly home and didn't stay around for after service activities, because shortly after I got home, a person was walking in the street on 103rd and West End in front of the building that we live in, and he was asked for $1, and he didn't have it. He said, "I don't have it," and he walked ahead and he got shot in the back. Our building super was very cooperative with the surveillance, and the police handled it as well as they could. Fortunately, they've gotten the perpetrator. Somewhat fortunately, we don't know how. Hopefully, the injuries were serious, but the person's going to survive. The person was a Danish tourist who was in the hostel on 103rd Street, living there for a while. And this really shook up our neighborhood. We've had a block and a half away between Amsterdam and Broadway on 103rd Street also, a number of shootings in the last year and a half. But the 24th did a great job here and got the perpetrator. We're just hoping that there's something seriously done to prevent this person from doing what he did again, and that remains to be seen. So I think we have those public safety issues too. Unfortunately, we have good support from our local precinct.
Yeah, Shelley, I don't know. I just want to comment. I read that the perp lives on 106th Street in a I don't know if it's a supportive housing or unit or something like that, but they claim that he has mental health issues. And so I don't know, that's kind of challenging, because if that person resides in the area, we have a lot of places that fit that description. So yeah, it's a challenge. So
yeah, we're going to be meeting with the 24th for more specific information to see if we can understand this a little better. But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, as I said, as a public safety task force, there's a lot of ground that needs to be covered, but at the same time, you know, we have to rely upon our district attorney's office and not only just the police department, but other agencies as well to step in and see what they can do. The department, you know, what is that? Department of Homeless Services, DHS, I believe it is, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I just feel that they all need to get involved. It can't just be one entity. So, you know, what we can do is pull together some type of forum where we can speak to the various stakeholders and see if we can come up with a plan that works, because it is, you know, gotten out of control, so to speak, where you can't even walk down the street and, you know, without being injured, put it that way, whether it's a bike or a person with the gun, you know, it's scary out here today. So yes. And I think that we have to be proactive and come up with a plan.
Richard.
I don't know that we've ever done this, but it seems to me that a large part of the problem is how cases are disposed of after an arrest is made. And it might be worthwhile for us to look into creating a liaison with the district attorney, Manhattan DA's office, just so that we can follow up on these cases and get a handle on how they're being treated.
We have a liaison.
I think they'll be receptive to that.
Richard, there is a liaison from the district attorney's office who comes to our meetings and who is available for us.
Well, I think a liaison from the district attorney is fine, but I think we ought to establish relationships with the individual ADAs who are handling specific cases. Maybe we could do that through this liaison, but
I think we can do it through our liaison.
I agree with you, Richard. The liaison that was assigned to CB7 is no longer with the district attorney's office. They are.
You're muted.
Sorry. The district attorney liaison that was assigned to CB7 is no longer working in that capacity. So another liaison will be taking his place. So as soon as I am notified who that is, I'll make sure that he attends our meeting.
Thank you. Doug, you're up.
Yes, so I regularly attend the neighborhood community, the police community council meetings, and Ms. Stryker is the representative from the district attorney's office, who, by the way, I've spoke to her personally and asked her if she would be willing to come to Community Board 7, and whether it's the Public Safety Task Force or other meetings. The answer was affirmatively yes. I have seen her actually at the 24th precinct and have to answer some tough questions from the commanding officers regarding arrests that warrant to the satisfaction of our CO and XOs. So I have her information. I can share it. I'm on the Public Safety Task Force. I can share it with the co-chairs, and let's invite her to come speak with us.
Thanks, Doug. I'll just say something quickly because it's come up. Just to be, not create fear, but to be cautious. Last week I was on the train in the district with my daughter. We witnessed a random attack, and the reason that I was actually a few minutes late earlier was I was just picking my daughter up from after school, and out of nowhere a man turned around and just swung at my head. And thankfully I ducked, and neither myself nor daughter got hurt. And then he just kind of started walking off, but I tried not to engage him, called 911. And because I wasn't going to wait around, and thankfully nothing happened, they said just to call the precinct. So I just want to thank Max and Jesse. I did get a photo of the guy and sent it over to them, and I know they're sharing it with the precinct as well. But this is twice in 2 weeks, random attacks, plus something else I saw without my daughter. Stuff happens, but it just seems like it is happening more and more and more. I think there's an unease, especially when you see people on the street. You don't want to just act too fearful or walk away or walk in the opposite direction because someone looks a certain way. But, there's also, if you feel a little bit unease, there's usually a real gut instinct for it in many cases. And, like I said, this was so random. It would happen right in front of Trader Joe's, on the way here to the meeting. So, yeah, definitely something I think just, random attacks seem to be happening more and more, at least I've been witnessing them, so.
Andrew, we're glad
How's
you're.
your daughter?
We're fine, we explained she's over here and she's.
There's Olivia. Hi, Olivia.
So we talk about it and, it's a reality, but, these are serious issues that we.
You don't think it was,
seriously.
you don't think it was somebody who didn't like sidewalk cafes or anything like that?
No, I don't know, but who knows?
People are really, I think the pandemic really kind of precipitated or added to the craziness. And it's, I was on the subway en route to an event and while coming back from, there were two crazies there and I got freaked out. I didn't want to get back on the subway. So that was last night. So I think it's so unpredictable now. It's so precarious. It's worse than we experienced in the 70s. Because there's no, they're going to be back to the street.
Yeah, I mean, what I just say is, when these incidents happen, we talk about them and, they're scary and, but we don't always talk about, the millions of interactions we have every day where it's safe and it's fine. So how can you have honest, sincere, real conversations about the real challenges we face without being, fear mongering or getting everyone, concerned just about walking down the street. So I think it's important balance how we discuss these issues and then how we have to address them. It's just something that, I even hear in my professional work with restaurants, you think they talk about rent, you think they talk about outdoor dining, all these other issues, but so often, whether it's real or it's perceived, public safety issues, particularly with people leaving restaurants and bars late at night, workers leaving late at night, so anyways, I just wanted to bring that up and raise that, but Polly, do you have anything else on
We're glad you're safe and congratulations on your last steering meeting.
Well, thank you very much. Well, that I don't see any other.
At this moment, no. I'm glad everyone shared with me what their concerns are, and all the more for us to roll up our sleeves, as I said. And I agree with Richard. I don't want to just use the Public Safety Task Force as a platform for us just to constantly discuss isolated incidents. It's time for us to come up with a plan on how to address it, because we're all experiencing situations that we're uncomfortable with. And so I just feel that, we need to be proactive and reach out to the various stakeholders, as I said earlier, and put together an action plan.
I think that's great, Polly, right? Don't talk about it, be about it.
There you go.
Cool. All righty. So with that, any old business? Don't see any new business? All right, at 8:33. Well, again,
Martini coming on.
Motion to adjourn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Second, all right.
Great work, Andrew. Great work, everybody.
Thank you to all of you.
Shana Tova to my tribe.
This is a team sport.
Indeed.
Andrew, your tenure was short but impeccable.
There we go. Yeah, not enough time to mess too many things up. So, but we still got a couple more meetings, at least a full board. So,
okay.
Thanks, everyone. And of course, if there's anything, feel free to reach out. And Olivia is saying bye to